morning. Happy 4th of July. It is week 4, day 5. It is officially Colporteur Friday. And so the leaders have something awesome planned for us today, but they've been keeping it a secret, so we'll find out in a bit. But I do want to share some testimonies from yesterday. Yesterday was just such a powerful day. We started off with a regular worship. Calvin was teaching, and he talked about, we went through different people in the Bible and how they believed God was a God of the past and the God of the future, but very few actually believed that he was the God of the present. So for example, Gideon, when the angel appears to him and says, "The Lord is with you," and then he's like, "How come? How can this be?" God, he did mighty wonders for our forefathers, and he did all these signs and wonders, but he has allowed us to fall into the hands of the Midianites. And so he believes in the God of the past, how God can do wonderful and powerful things in the past, but not in the present. Fast forward to the New Testament, where you have Mary and Martha. When Martha, tells Jesus that, "Oh Lord, if you had been here, then my brother would not have died." And so he believes that Jesus could have done something in the past, to heal Lazarus, to make him better. But now that Lazarus is dead, she doesn't believe that God can do wonders in that moment. But she does say, "But I know that he will, rise one day in the resurrection." And so she believes in the God of the past and the God of the future, but not in Jesus in the present, and what he can do and how powerfully he can work in her life and with Lazarus. And then you go to Mary as well, where she's like, if you excuse me, he goes, "If you had been here." And so Mary as well believes in the God of the past. And then he says Jesus wept. And it's interesting because he says a lot of people think he was weeping for Lazarus. Well, he was weeping because of their unbelief, and that they weren't believing that he could do something miraculous in their life today. But there is characters that do believe in the God of the present. And so we went to the book of Daniel, went over Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, where it says, "We don't have to answer you carefully in this matter, O king. God has the power to rescue us, but if he doesn't, we believe in him, serve him," and all that. And also Daniel in the lion's den, where he believed in the God of the present. And so that was a devotional, and I really love that. And I was like, God is going to do something wonderful in our life today and in the lives of the people who we're going to reach out to. And it was funny, like one of the testimonies from a couple of days ago was, I believe it was, it might have even been last week, but it was a guy going to a fast food place, something like Jack in the Box or Taco Bell, and then he ends up getting one of the books, has a powerful testimony, and then it says, this man just got up in the morning thinking he was just gonna get Taco Bell. He didn't know he was gonna get the word of the Lord, and who knows what lives can be changed when people wake up. They don't know what the day will bring. We don't know either, but God has something wonderful in store for you today. And so that was just such a powerful thing, and to keep in mind. And then my prayer that morning was like, "Lord, help us as our lives are changed and as we change the lives of people." And so I was dropped off in the morning in an industrial place. This was my first time doing industrial. I mean, I had done other businesses, but not industrial. And so we've got warehouses, lumber yards. I want to do a lumber yard, but I haven't had the chance to. And then so I was dropped off, went to the office, no soliciting, went out, left a glow track, went out. And then I was walking around the parking lot, saw some worker, so like canvas the guy, and then so I got a lot of Spanish drop downs out, and then I was outside the warehouse, and then I asked the worker, "Oh, can I come in and talk to the other workers?" Like, yeah, sure. And so I'm like in my skirt climbing up this like a few step ladder to the dock, because how like where they load up trucks, it's like, I don't know, 2 feet, 2.5 feet, 3 feet from the ground. And so most of them have steps. You get up, and then go inside the warehouse. And so I canvassed all the workers in the warehouse, and then they're like, oh yeah, and so I got a lot of Spanish drop down. So he said, is there anyone else I can talk to? And then he said, oh yeah, go into the office. And then so I went into the office, canvassed 2 people before I was kicked out. But yeah, that was an interesting experience with industrial. Some places I couldn't even get in because like the office said just no, and I couldn't, get into any of the other places. So I didn't get very many books out. I think I got a health set out, and it was mostly drop downs. There was one guy though that he said, oh, I want to help you out, I want to do healthy living. And so that he was the one who got the health set. And so I did the community survey with him, and he said he wasn't interested in Bible studies, but he had read the Bible through 3 times already. But he was interested in getting his kids into VBS, and then so he signed up for that as well. Later that afternoon, okay, so the whole day I had been feeling a little bit sluggish, tired, not very high energy. And so I was just like trudging along. And then after lunch, I like took a quick nap in the car, and then I just felt so tired. And then I said, first drop off in the afternoon, I said, Lord, I feel tired. I kind of just want it to be 8:30 already and be pickup. But I said, I'm gonna run to every door. And then I knew I was a little bit dehydrated. I hadn't been drinking that much water. I was like, Lord, even though I don't feel like it, I'm gonna run to the doors. And then hopefully, that'll get my energy up. So I was like, you said you would, run and not grow weary, walk and not faint. And so I was like, I'm gonna run to the doors. You promised this is your work, you provide me with the energy. And then so I started running from door to door, knock, 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 no one's home, wait a bit, knock, knock, wait a bit, okay, glow track, run. And so I was just doing this, come to this door, canvass him with habits, and then he's like, I was like, what kind of stuff do you like to read? He was like, oh, more novels. And I was like, oh, this is a wonderful book. I take out Promise of Peace, which is different chapters. I believe it's from Patriarchs and Prophets, as well as The Desire of Ages. And so it's like a shorter version, and I show him, this is a wonderful book, and it reads more like a novel. And then he looks at it, he's like, oh, this is wonderful. And then so I do the survey with him, natural foods cooking, stop smoking program, VBS for kids, Revelation seminars, Bible studies. And he was like, oh, I'm not really comfortable with doing like Bible studies for, because my brother is, he was like, I grew up Catholic, but my brother's Christian, trying to do Bible studies with me, and so it was like out of loyalty to his brother. But he did sign it up for something. I can't remember if it was for the Revelation seminar or for the cooking school, but he did show interest. And then it was really interesting because the moment I showed peace to him, he like took peace and then gave me back the habits. Like, I want this one, and it's really great when you see that interest. Go a few more houses down, I meet this, I got another habits out, and then a few more houses, I meet this man, and he was speaking in broken English, and I was like, oh, I don't read that much because I didn't grow up here. I grew up in Japan. And I was like, Nihonjin desu ka? Doko de sundemashita ka? And then like started like talking to him in my broken Japanese. We eventually just switched back to English, and then he was like, yeah, telling me his life story and how his son had passed away. And my alarm just went off for worshiping a bit. His son had passed away. He was with his wife, and then so he was gonna get peace above the storm for his wife. And then I did the survey. I asked him if he would be interested in Bible studies, and he said no, because he's like, my son was a good man, he volunteered, did all this good stuff. And he's like, and then God let him die. And then so I was like, since you didn't mention that you watch more than you read, let me switch you out for this one. And then so I took back the Peace Above the Storm, and I showed him Theodicy, and I said, this is DVD. give satisfying answers to the question, if God is good, why is there pain and suffering? And so and I made sure I asked, do you have a DVD player, made sure, and he was like, yeah, I'll watch this. And then so he was able to get a theodicy out. I was able to get a theodicy out, and so I really do hope that he watches it and he finds some peace in that, and get answers to the questions of, my son was a good guy, why did he die? And then, and it's interesting because I was running to the doors. I was able to cover more doors in less time. And so I got picked up, got dropped off at this street. And so I'm just like going quickly, same thing, door to door. And this is towards the end of the night. So if I had not made that decision earlier in the night to run from door to door, I might not have gotten to this door. And so I get to this door, I show the man the habits, and then he's like, oh, he's more of a heavy reader, he likes history, I show him GC, and I was like, this covers, history, and he was like, who wrote this book? And I was like, it's by an author named Ellen G. White. And she was like, okay, which religion? And I was like, I'm a Seventh-day Adventist Christian. And then he was like, oh, Seventh-day Adventist, I've been seeing churches, your churches pop up all over the area. And I was like, oh, really? That's wonderful. I'm actually not from this area, so I'm not very familiar with, because he was describing where they were on the streets and stuff. And I was like, I'm not very familiar with the area, but we go to Hawthorne. And this was, I believe, in Lawndale. And then I was like, oh, okay, yeah, because he was like, I looked you guys up online, but you seem pretty mainstream Christian. And then so I explained him what the name Seventh-day Adventist means. So Seventh-day Adventist means we worship on the seventh-day Sabbath, so Saturday instead of Sunday. Adventist meaning we believe in the soon return of Christ. It's like, oh, really? That's so interesting. And he was like, yeah, I've been studying my Bible. I was like, oh, where in the Bible have you been studying? And I was like, I'm going through the New Testament. I was like, have you gotten to the book of Revelation? And he was like, no, not yet. And I was like, where is that one? And I was like, it's the very last book of the Bible. But for those who are searching, show him the answer book. Here's some answers, I really like using that phrase. For those who are searching, this, the answer book will help you out a lot. And then so I show him like 23 different topics. It has Q&A sections from the Bible, links to online videos and presentations, all these other resources. Like, oh, this is really interesting. And he was already ready to buy the 2 books. And then for some reason he mentions Daniel and the lions, and I was like, no way. We just actually had that in our devotions this morning, and how God is the God of the present, and he's going to do something wonderful in your life today. Let me show you the Daniel Chronicles. And so he ends up getting the answer book, The Great Controversy, and the Daniel Chronicles. And then he signs up for correspondence Bible studies as well. He said he wasn't very comfortable, meeting one-on-one with the person or being in a group Bible study, but he did sign up for the Revelation seminars and correspondence mail. Another house, towards the end of the night, this was like 2 minutes before the end of the night, I get to this kid. He was probably in high school, and then I started canvassing him. I was like, what do you like to read? He's like, fantasy, any particular area in fantasy. I think he had mentioned maybe Harry Potter. I don't know. I was like, oh, are you a pretty heavy reader? He's like, yeah. I show him The Great Controversy, and I was like, this is a historical one, but it talks about, and then I start talking about, the Waldenses. I was like, these men of courage who went above and beyond. They were heroes that, they hid the parts of the Bible in their shirts. They tried to do whatever they could to live according to their beliefs and to spread the gospel. And I was like, and it is amazing because these are such wonderful stories, and these are actual. There's an earthquake. There is an earthquake. I can feel it shaking. At first I thought I was getting dizzy, but I'm pretty sure there is an earthquake going on. Okay. Oh no, the stock room. Let me just check real quick. earthquake. I didn't hear anything crash. Okay, let me just finish it up. Anyway, he ends up getting a great controversy, and he was really interested in it. And then he was like, "How do I pay?" I was like, "Yeah, you just pay right now, and we leave the book with you." And then so I don't know if I'm dizzy or it's still the earthquake. And then and then so later that night, I get picked up. And so like the importance of, running door to door and doing that decision. And by now I was feeling very energized, not that same low energy feeling. I canvassed this two days ago. I canvassed this lady at a drama juice. I showed her the great controversy. She was really interested. I gave her a glow track, and on the featured books on the back was a great controversy, circled it, and I was like, yeah, you can look it up later. And then so she says, oh yeah, this is super interesting, blah blah blah, whatever. And then Gabriel gets in the car. He's like, oh, I talked to a lady that you had canvassed at a Jamba Juice. And I was like, oh, was she, the worker? Yeah, she was interested in great controversy, blah, blah, blah. She didn't end up getting a book either this time, but it was interesting because that two different people from Southern California would end up doing the same program, canvassing the same person on 2 different days, one at her place of work and one at her place of residence. And so you can see like how God is working in her life to get her this book. And so now she has so many resources to reach out, or if she ever wants to one day actually get that great controversy, because she did sound genuinely interested. And so there's just, so many resources for her. And it was pretty amazing to, have the same person who's like, yeah, I remember being canvassed, by this Filipina, short hair. And then so that's how Gabriel knew that it was me that had canvassed her. And so like Goddess has just been so faithful. So many experiences yesterday. And it was just a blessing to me and a reminder that when you do decide to be faithful in your work as well, that God provides. Like I just was not feeling like going door to door and walking. And then something Marco said was like, I feel more edified when I do this work in spite of feeling down or tired or whatever it is, because we do it for the Lord. And anyway, so that's my thing for today. I'm just gonna go check that nothing fell or that everything's okay. Yeah. Bye. Happy 4th of July.